invented the radio? The radio was invented by Guglielmo Marconi. When was the radio invented by Guglielmo Marconi? The radio was invented in 1897. When was the radio invented by Guglielmo Marconi? Let me get this straight. The radio was invented in Newton, Inglaterra in 1897 by Guglielmo Marconi. That's right, correct. Who invented the telephone? The telephone was invented by Alexander Graham Bell. When was the telephone invented by Alexander Graham Bell? The telephone was invented in 1876. Where was the telephone invented by Alexander Graham Bell? Let me get this right. The radio was invented in Boston, Massachusetts in 1876 by Alexander Graham Bell. That's right, correct. Who invented the light bulb? The light bulb was invented by Thomas Alva Edison. When was the light bulb invented by Thomas Alva Edison? The light bulb was invented in 1879. Where was the light bulb invented by Thomas Alva Edison? Let me get this right. The light bulb was invented in Menlo Park in 1879 by Thomas Alva Edison. That's right, correct. Okay. Who invented the color television? The color television was invented by Guillermo González Camarero. When was the color television invented by Guillermo González Camarero? The color television was invented in 1939. When was the color television invented by Guillermo González Camarero? Let me get this right. The color television was invented in Mexico in 1939 by Guillermo González Camarero. That's right, correct.
Who discovered radioactivity element radio?
The radioactive element radio was discovered by Marie and Pierre Curie.
When was radioactivity element radio discovered by Marie and Pierre Curie?
The radioactive element radio was discovered in 1898.
When was radioactivity element radio discovered by Marie and Pierre Curie?
Let me get this straight. The radioactive element radio was discovered in the city of Bohemia in 1898 by Marie and Pierre Curie. Hello, Miss.
Who discovered penicillin?
The penicillin was discovered by Alexander Fleming.
When was penicillin discovered by Alexander Fleming?
The penicillin was discovered in 1928.
When was penicillin discovered by Alexander Fleming?
Let me get this straight. The penicillin was discovered in London in 1928 by Alexander Fleming.
Correct. Hello, Juan.
Hello, Miss.
Who discovered the moons of Jupiter?
The moons of Jupiter was discovered by Galileo Galilei.
When was the moons of Jupiter discovered by Galileo Galilei?
The moons of Jupiter was discovered in 1610.
When was the moons of Jupiter discovered by Galileo Galilei?
Let me get this straight. The moons of Jupiter was discovered in Italy in 1610 by Galileo Galilei.
Correct.
Hello, Miss.
Who discovered America?
America was discovered by Cristobal Colon.
When was America discovered by Cristobal Colon?
America was discovered in 1492.
When was America discovered by Cristobal Colon?
Let me get this straight. America was discovered of the continent of America in 492 by Cristobal Colon.
Correct. Who discovered the gravity force?
The gravity force was discovered by Isaac Newton.
When was the gravity force by Isaac Newton?
The gravity force was discovered in 1665.
When was the gravity force discovered in Isaac Newton?
Let me get this straight. The gravity force was discovered in England in 1665 by Isaac Newton.
Correct.
Word Harry Potter. Harry Potter was written by Joan Rowling. We was Harry Potter wrote by Jane Rowling. The first book of Harry Potter was released in 1997. We was Harry Potter wrote by Jane Rowling. Let me get this straight. Harry Potter was released in United Kingdom of Great Britain in 1997 by Joan Rowling. That's right, correct. Who wrote Alice in Wonderland? Alice in Wonderland was written by Lewis Carroll. We was Alice in Wonderland wrote by Lewis Carroll. Alice in Wonderland was released in 1865. We was Alice in Wonderland wrote by Lewis Carroll. Let me get this straight. Alice in Wonderland was released in United Kingdom of Great Britain in 1865 by Lewis Carroll. That's right, correct. Who wrote Romeo and Juliet? Romeo and Juliet was written by William Shakespeare. We was Romeo and Juliet wrote by William Shakespeare. Romeo and Juliet was released in 1595. We're Romeo and Juliet wrote by William Shakespeare. Let me get this straight. Romeo and Juliet was released in United Kingdom of Great Britain in 1595 by William Shakespeare. That's right, correct. Who wrote The Chronicles of Narnia? The Chronicles of Narnia was written by Cliff Stace Lewis. When was The Chronicles of Narnia wrote by Cliff Stace Lewis? The first book of The Chronicles of Narnia was released in 1950. When was The Chronicles of Narnia wrote Cliff Stace Lewis? Let me get this right. The Chronicles of Narnia was released in Oxford, United Kingdom of 1950 by Cliff Stace Lewis. That's right, correct. Who wrote The Hobbit? The Hobbit was written by John Ronald Reuel Tolkien. When was The Hobbit wrote by Ronald Reuel Tolkien? The first book of The Hobbit was released in 1920. When was The Hobbit wrote by John Ronald Reuel Tolkien? Let me get this straight. The Hobbit was released in United Kingdom of Great Britain in 1920 by John Ronald Reuel Tolkien. That's right, correct.
Hello, Juan.
Hello, Liz.
Who directed Avatar?
Avatar was directed by James Cameron.
When was Avatar directed by James Cameron?
Avatar was directed in 2009.
When was Avatar was directed by James Cameron?
Let me get this straight. Avatar was directed in China in 2009 by James Cameron.
Correct. Hunger Games was based on.
The Hunger Games were based on one is killed all and the last one win.
Who were the Hunger Games directed?
The Hunger Games were directed by Jerry Ross.
Who were the Hunger Games were directed by Gary Ross.
Let me get this straight. The Hunger Games were based on a killing each other and the last one win, and the Hunger Games were directed in 2012 by Jerry Ross.
Correct. When were the Twilight Saga movies filmed?
The Twilight Saga movies were filmed in Oregon and Vancouver.
Who were Twilight Saga movies filmed in Oregon and Vancouver?
The Twilight Saga movies were filmed by Catherine Hackay.
When were the Twilight movies filmed by Catherine?
Let me get this straight. The Twilight Saga movies were filmed in 2008 in Vancouver and Oregon by Catherine Hackay.
Correct. Hello, Juan.
Hello, Liz.
Who directed The Horse Bride?
The Corpse Bride was directed by Mike Johnson and Tim Burton.
When was The Horse Bride directed by Mike Johnson and Tim Burton?
The Corpse Bride was directed in 2005.
When was The Horse Bride was directed by Mike Johnson and Tim Burton?
Let me get this straight. The Corpse Bride was directed in London in 2005 by Mike Johnson and Tim Burton.
What was Iron Man? Was bicycle.
The Iron Man was based in a visionary inventor.
Who was Iron Man directed?
Iron Man was directed by Jon Favreau.
When was Iron Man directed by Jon Favreau?
Let me get this straight. Iron Man was based in a visionary inventor, and Iron Man was directed in 2008 by Jon Favreau.
Correct.
Who sang Stairway to Heaven? Stairway to Heaven was performed by Jimmy Page and Robert Plant of Led Zeppelin. When was Stairway to Heaven performed by Jimmy Page and Robert Plant? Stairway to Heaven was performed in 1970. Where was Stairway to Heaven performed by Jimmy Page and Robert Plant? Let me make it clear, Stairway to Heaven was performed in England in 1970 by Jimmy Page and Robert Plant. That's right.
Who composed Through Elise? Student A. Who composed Through Elise? Student B. Through Elise was composed by Louis Beethoven. Student A. When was For Elise composed by Beethoven? Student B. Through Elise was composed in 1810. Student A. Where was For Elise composed by Beethoven? Student B. Let me clarify. For Elise was composed in Germany in 1810 by Beethoven. That's correct.
Okay, who composed Yesterday? Yesterday was composed by Paul McCartney on the Beatles. When was Yesterday written by Paul McCartney? Yesterday was composed in 1965. Where was Yesterday composed by Paul McCartney? Let me get this straight. Yesterday was composed in Liverpool, England in 1965 by Paul McCartney. That's correct.
Who sang Bohemian Rhapsody? Bohemian Rhapsody was performed by the band Queen with Freddie Mercury as the last vocalist. When was Bohemian Rhapsody performed by Queen? Bohemian Rhapsody was performed in 1975. Where was Bohemian Rhapsody performed by Queen? Bohemian Rhapsody was performed in London in 1917 by Queen with Freddie Mercury as the lead vocalist. It is correct.
Okay, who composed The Nutcracker? The Nutcracker was composed by Pyotr Ilyich. When was The Nutcracker composed by Pyotr Ilyich? The Nutcracker was composed in 1892. Where was The Nutcracker composed by Pyotr Ilyich? Let me get this straight. The Nutcracker was composed in St. Petersburg, Russia, in 1892 by Pyotr Ilyich. That's right.
Here comes the sun.